Hello, welcome to the tutorial. This is going to cover exactly on how I convert Destiny 2 models to Fallout 4. This will also cover pretty much the same method that I'll use to bring everything from Fallout New Vegas to Skyrim as well. So first things first, we're going to start at going to the Destiny model RIP server in Discord. And you're going to look for either this tool here, or you're going to go to the Blender Help section here, go to the pin, and look for the very tip top first tutorial here. Basically, everything that's going to be outlined with all these steps, all the way up until step 40, is going to cover everything as far as extracting the model. So if you don't feel like having to deal with the video, just go to the help section. But for now, we're going to go and find the API extraction tool here, and we're going to grab it. It's going to take a few seconds to download, and I've already downloaded it earlier, so you really won't have to, but once you've extracted it, you're going to see this program right here, the extension. It's going to fire up a little bit. Now you want to generally give it a few seconds to minutes depending on your setup to load before you start entering anything into this search engine right here. Now the good thing about this tool is that it's allowing you to not only extract Destiny 2 assets, but Destiny 1. You just switch from there, and that's basically it. So the model in question that we're going to be working on is going to be... One second. We're going to be doing the hold fast set, which will be this one right here. The reason why is that it doesn't have too many armor joints around and everything to obstruct how we're going to weigh everything. It's pretty clothed in uniform. It's going to conform to the body the way we want it. It's already been extracted and put into Blender. So you don't really have to do the tutorial at this stage, but we're going to cover it as if we are doing everything else. So we're going to type in hold fast, and we're going to get some selections to pop up. So we're going to see all the ones that are going to be looking like the hunter, which is right here. Just going to left click it once until we get everything we want. We should have 5 items. And then we're going to hit execute queue. Now from there, you're going to see the little scroll bar going, obviously, and we're going to wait until everything is done here, and that scroll bar stops moving. So in the meanwhile, I'm going to go to Blender, and I'm going to pop open the blend that I'm going to be enclosing in the description later on. So what this is going to have is the base male and base female bodies for Fallout 4. Now the female is using CBBE, which is nude, and I will not be showing that if I can help it. Obviously for YouTube reasons and censorship. So, it's still ongoing, but you're going to see this exile male blend file. Or sorry, this armature right here. Now, as you can see, it's been posed already to the Fallout 4 skeleton, which will save you an incredible amount of time because, let me tell you, posing the gloves to the Fallout 4's finger system is a nightmarish process. So I'm going to include this in there to make it easier on you. We'll see how that works out later on when we get to the copying and pasting stage. But for now, it looks like it just finished. So going to go right back and look for this output folder. You're going to look for the time. Obviously, everything's gone and been extracted. But what we're mostly looking for is this model.dae. What that means is that is going to be everything as far as the mesh. It's going to be contained within an armature like so. But first, I need to open up a separate blend that I also will be including within the description as well. And this is going to be the blank D2 setup .blend. What that means is that there is nothing in here. It's just blank. So first things first, we're going to go to open right here. We are in the the text editor in scripting right here. So I'm going to go to open. I'm going to go look for the output folder, find the Pt.1 model, go to shaders. You're going to see these .py, .text files right here. We're going to go and just do the .py. So I'm going to double click it. You're going to see all these little numbers and text. You're going to ignore that. You're just going to go to this little play mark right here, click it once, which is run script, as you can see. And then we're going to go from text editor to shader editor. Next, file, append. So when you first come to the server or to the drive that I'm going to be posting in the description as well, we're going to need a few things. First is the materials. So we're going to go from the Destiny 3D model dump to shaders, Blender, and we're going to be grabbing the Destiny player shader 2.0.5. We're going to download that. The reason why will be ready to go in just a moment. So after just appending everything, which I need to reload, I'm going to go to the search engine right here, type in 2.0. We're going to go to 2.0.5, material, and we're going to see a bunch of these things. Now we're doing armor, so we're just going to go and click that one. Nothing's popped up yet. There's a reason for that. So after that, we're going to go to File, Import Collada Default or Day. And we're going to go right back to where we had the day initially. We're going to double click that. And as you can see, the model was successfully imported. Now it does have bones, which does rotate and everything else like that, but we really don't need this armature. So we're just going to delete it outright. Next, now that we have that, you're going to need to go back to the Destiny 3D models dump, go to models _ armor and heads, and download the D2 player skeleton. So, which I'll get out of this, we're going to go to File and Append. Now, if you've already downloaded it, you won't really have to worry about having to go look for it because you'll know where it is. I keep it in the same spot. So we're going to double click this, and we're going to go to Object. So you're going to see a bunch of things, but the most we're looking for is FK and IK. Now, this is going to be the IK skeleton and the hands and everything else like that. I'm going to show what the IK looks like in comparison to the FK. So this is the IK skeleton. If you're new to all this, this might go over your head, but this one is going to be a little bit more in-depth as far as posing and everything else like that goes. Whereas compared to the FK, it's going to be a little bit more standard, basic skeletons, not too fancy, but it will get the job done. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will be using the FK skeletons. So I'm going to start from the female, stop all the way at masculine. I'm going to append them all. And what you see is that it's brought the gloves from Destiny. It's brought the neck piece as well. So I'm going to crack open this armature here, and I'm going to actually hide these really quickly because I need to do some work on these meshes. So I'm going to click on just one piece. I'm going to hit A, then Tab. So now we're in edit mode. I'm going to hit A to select every vertices right here. We're going to go to this little corner right here, go to edge select, then back to vertex select. I'm going to hit select, invert, and you're going to see all these little bitty dots that just popped up. These are just stuff that comes with the extraction process. We don't need them or want them, so I'm going to hit delete, vertices, and that's it. So we've cleaned up the model a little bit more. You can see that Blender is speeding up a little bit more as a consequence of that. So the next step is going to be working on these cloaks, because you can see they're a little bit blocky and they're segmented. So I'm going to hide these little buggers right here. Usually the cape is fine, but we're going to basically combine the last two and the first two, and we're going to compare them. You can tell which one's more of a higher quality based off of the triangle count. And I believe in this case, this one's going to be more of a higher poly model. So we're going to delete the first one, 0.1.000. Then I'm going to go back into edit mode. I'm going to go to mesh, clean up, merge by distance. What that just did was clean the model up and make it less blocky and triangular. So after that, I'm going to have to repeat the same for the male version of the cloak. Now, if you're only going to work on female, you don't really have to do this. You can just delete the male outright, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to do both of them. So again, I'm going to merge them. Going to check to see which one has more triangles, which I believe the other one does. Yes. So I'm going to wait. Whoop. Actually, no. Looks like this one does. So we're going to delete that one. And we are done with that. Just going to repeat the same process. Mesh, clean up, merge by distance. So I'm going to hit Alt and H. And going to hide everything except for the female. I'm going to make sure the skeleton is selected, or the armature, potato, which you can see is orange and highlighted. You're going to hit B, hold and press left click and drag it into a box that highlights over the female skeleton. You're going to hit Control P and armature deform. Now what we just did was we made it to where the skeleton is functioning correctly on the body. We're going to do some tests to make sure everything is working. Now you might be asking why we did this versus just keeping the old skeleton. The old skeleton didn't have the neck piece or the gloves, and it is encoded data from the API, so it's a little bit more superior. So we're going to do the same for the male. I'm going to hide everything that's feminine and overlap with the masculine. Repeat the same process. Control P. So now everything is on the male part. So we don't really need to worry about anything not functioning correctly because the female worked as it was intended. So right now I'm in viewport shading. We're going to go back to, I was in solid view. We're going to go back to rendered view. So the next step is, remember when we appended the player gear, the 2.05? We noticed earlier nothing popped up in this area. Well, it was this. So as you can see, everything's black. That is because it doesn't have any textures in this area. So we're going to apply them. Now, depending on what model you've grabbed, either from the drive or you're trying to rip something from the game using the API extraction, you'll check and notice that you have some textures in here. Now, you'll see some colors like these dye slots here. We're going to ignore that for this model because the model doesn't come with dye slots. because this is a pre-Beyond Light armor. Now you're going to see diffuse, gear stack, and normal. Now, depending on what you extracted, you might be able to find the model on the drive already pre-built, like the holdfast one. Yeah, like see, holdfast is already here. So the textures that we would need have already been built in and converted to the setup that we need. But if your armor is not on that drive and you want to extract it, and you want to have higher quality textures compared to, let's see, one moment, compared to this one, which already has both been upscaled and it's combined the cloak to the arms. If you want the actual HD textures, you're going to go to the batch rips, which you'll be able to find in the link dump section right here, which will bring us to this folder here. So we were working on the holdfast, which is going to be under Season 11 of the Arrivals. It's going to be Hunter. And as you can see, it's in here, so we're going to download that. Well, we don't really have to because I've already done it. But for the comparison of that, it's already been done. So when you download the armors, it's going to be extraordinarily large for very good reason, because it is literally the extraction of the textures that you need for this model. And that's going to include these textures here and the tile diffuse, as well as the normal diffuse, as well as the hand textures and the neck piece textures that the character in question would be wearing. Which would also be included in the textures. Oh, right here. As you can see, we've got the tile diffuse and the normal and everything else like that. But they're not, again, pretty decent quality. So we want to actually use HD textures if we can help it. So you're going to see a massive dump here. Ignore everything else. See, from the first three textures right here, this is obviously going to be the helm. The best way to verify that is to open the texture up and check the size. Most helmets are going to be 1024 by 1024. Arms and marks or everything else is going to be 2048. So, and as you can see, we've got some tile diffuse and normal right here for the helmet. So, with that in mind, we're going to go and begin applying textures. So this is obviously the cloak and the arms. So we're going to go to diffuse. We're going to plug it in here. As you can see, it's applied, but it's gray. It's not what we want. We're going to plug in the G stack. Now, it's colored a little bit weirdly, but that's normal because we haven't applied the shader yet. So first thing first, you're going to go to where it says sRGB. Put that to non-color. That's going to change the thing up a little bit, but we're going to do the same thing for the normal. Apply the normal. And it is applied correctly. So, you might be asking yourself, what's next? Well, we're going to put this as arms, and everything that says cloak or grip is going to be the same thing. So next, you can see that the textures are applying on there, but we've only got one material. So you see this little 6 right here? We're going to click that. It's going to duplicate the material. We're going to rename it to helm, and we're going to repeat the next step for everything for the helmet. Now, as you can see, the helmet's textures are applied correctly. It doesn't look wonky. It's as it should. It looks uniform. So we're going to do the same thing for the vest. Gonna double click that 6. Just gonna name it vest. And again, make sure when you are applying these G-stacks and normals to turn them to non-color. They do affect things, as you can see. It made it a little bit better. So, oh, okay, that's... it's a decal. Okay, so as you can see, you're going to have this little block right here. That's going to change the colors up a little bit. That's normal. Now, the reason why it is opaque, or it is not opaque, is because of that. So we're going to change the blend mode to alpha clip, and that's going to make it to where this part of the pants is colored a little bit differently. But obviously, we don't want this all Christmas colory. So remember when we were in the text editor and I had you hit apply the script? We're going to press N as a noun, and you're going to see this little menu pop up where it says D2 shader. If you hadn't applied the text editor, you hadn't pressed run script, this would not be there. So you're going to see this little column right here. You're going to press it once and wait. It's going to give it a few seconds to apply. And this little thing is popped up. We don't need it. Delete it immediately. Oop. I should also verify you should click it before you delete it. There we go. So nothing's happened, yeah? Well, we've got to change the default values. So you're going to see this as hold fast vest. And everything changed to the shader that we wanted. It is now changed, but we have to do this for all of the rest of the armor. So I'm going to change default shaders to hold fast. And that is it. That is how you change your shaders. What is that? So we have the shaders applied. It is as we want it. What's next? Well, a lot of things, actually. But we'll get to that in part 2.